All right, section 90 here. This is where we left off last week. Material was uploaded to the YouTube site, so you're able to get that. And if you don't have that link, let me know, and I'll send it to you. Okay.
No, I've seen it twice.
Okay. We looked at the second person pronoun. I've been adding this to this. This pronoun is found 1,840 times in the New Testament. Now, there may be a very textual variance where it's 1838 or 1841 or 42. This is a real close number, okay? Close to the right number. That's a lot of times. And so we have this also. We have ego is found 1,700 times, and that's a singular, and the plural form of it's found 864. That's close to 2,500 times. That's a bunch. So again, a me, I think I have it up here too, somewhere, how many times it's found. 2,462 times. So these pronouns are very prominent in the New Testament. When you add these up, you have, of course, the words are repeated over and over. So you'll have something like maybe 10,000 different times before we get through this lesson, 10 or 15,000 words out of the New Testament. Of course, it's the same words repeated over and over. All right. Any questions or comments there? Now, Greek doesn't have a separate third person pronoun in the Koine. The old classical Greek did, and this was its word, but we don't have that anymore. If you are going to read some classical Greek, you'll see that word, okay? Now, I told you last week, maybe it was another class, but I'm teaching 3 Greek classes right now, but the Analytical Greek Lexicon by H.K. Harold K., and I can't remember what the K stands for, but Harold K. Moulton, M-O-U-L-T-O-N. It has the parsing and all for the Greek of the Septuagint version. I don't know if it goes back to classical. I don't think it does, but the Septuagint was translated maybe 200 BC or somewhere thereabouts. The Greek in the old classical had 3 numbers. It was more exact and had more precision to it than even the Koine. The Greek language went through a change like English is going through right now. That is, when it became a second language for a large number of people after Alexander the Great spread it around, then they dumbed the language down or simplified it. I call it dumbing it down. Same thing is happening to English right now, to the English language. And so what we get into is this word dropped out. This lexicon that I cited, Analytical Greek Lexicon, mine's published by Zondervan. I don't know who all published it, but Zondervan published one I'm looking at. It's by H.K. Harold K. Moulton, and it has the forms for the dual number. The older Greek of the Septuagint had a dual number, like the Hebrew does. Singular, dual, and plural, three numbers. I think I read somewhere that the Old English of 1,000 years ago had a dual number too, but I can't remember for sure. I can't give a side of that. Let's go into section 30 now. We don't have a third person pronoun per se, but we have some structures that function like a third person pronoun. So in its place, we have the demonstrative pronoun. We have ekainos, and that is the word that. We'll get to those words a little bit later. And hutos, notice the rough breathing, hutos, the word this. The word that is the far distant object, and the word this is the near object. And so I would say this book or this city, Oklahoma City, where I'm living, or this metroplex of Oklahoma City, then I would say that city referring to London, England. See, that's a distant, far away. And so that's the word this and that. They also have gender in there, and they're fully declined with all the various cases: nominative, genitive, ablative, dative, instrumental, locative, accusative, and vocative case. I don't know that you have a vocative case for them, but you do have the other ones. I don't remember a vocative case being for these. So we probably don't have a vocative case for those. We'll get to those later, but I want to point those out. In Ephesians 2:8-10, for by grace have you been saved, and this, that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God. The word that here is one of these pronouns, and its gender, it has masculine, feminine, and neuter gender. And the gender it has doesn't allow it to refer to either grace or faith in that verse. I believe it probably refers to salvation. That's salvation, not of yourselves. It is a gift of God. But that's another question that we when we get into those pronouns, we'll look at that verse. If you'll remind me to, we'll look at it and I'll show you. Some of the modern translations are not honest in their translation of it. We'll look at it. Okay. They translated as this, not of yourselves. That's Baptist doctrine that faith is a gift of God. He gives it to us. Okay, we'll come to it later. Don't worry about it right now, but I just want to point it out. It's a favorite passage for some of your Calvinists. Now then, we also have not only these two words, but we have another form right here, a special form. Hode, it's day with an article, or heyday, that would be feminine article. These are nominative case articles. And tode, and so those are all nominative singular. We can also have the nominative plural articles with them. In that form, it's used as a third person pronoun, especially in narratives where there's a change of person. Now, here's the trick on it. You got to remember this with this structure. It refers to the last person mentioned rather than to the subject. So even though it's in the nominative case, it doesn't refer to the subject. Is that clear? Everyone understand that? That's important to make a note of that when you run into these words being used. Hode, heyday, tode. And then, of course, we have hoide, and we have the nominative plural form of this, of all three of them. Now, tode would be not necessarily a person, but a thing, probably. Although the word spirit could refer to be neuter. Of course, it's neuter. It's grammatical gender rather than regular actual gender always. Now, normally a man would have a masculine name, though, normally. All right, any questions there? I don't know whether I've told you this, but Jesus, which is Jesus or Joshua, that word is not fully declined in the Greek language. And so what you run into sometimes, proper names most of the time don't have the article. All right, they're already definite by virtue of being a name of a specific person. So what we run into then is the Jesus sometimes has the article. And the reason why it's not fully declined, because it's not really a Greek word. And what we have is the genitive form also functions the same as the dative instrumental locative. Genitive ablative form functions as dative instrumental locative. They function together. So they have the same form. So in order to tell you whether it's genitive ablative or whether it's dative instrumental or locative, they'll attach an article with it. And I found some sources that claim that that's done. And so that's one of the reasons you'll see the article with the name Jesus sometimes. All right. To distinguish, to tell you what case it is. The article, of course, will tell you what case. Does that make sense? If it has a genitive article or a genitive ablative article, then see the genitive ablative case. If it has a dative instrumental locative article, then it will be the dative instrumental locative case. Right? So it's not fully declined. It has, the Jesus has a nominative form, which we're looking at right here. This is a nominative form. Then they drop the sigma off, just drop off the sigma, and that'll be your genitive ablative, but it also functions as your dative instrumental locative form. And they put a new on the end of it, that'll be the accusative form. And so that will be your accusative form. I think there's a separate vocative form, but I can't remember, but it may go back to Jesus for the vocative. Okay. All right, so some of your words that, particularly like words coming out of other languages, and this might be the case more so in words that were given, names that were given to Jewish people, they might not be fully declined. All right, so that's one way they handled it and took care of that problem right here. Jesus lege autois. Now we're going to get to autois in the next section, section 91 on this bottom of this page. We'll come to that. And hoide. So we have Jesus says to them, but they say, we might say, but they say, nigh or yes. And so Jesus says to them, but they say, and so right here, that form would be translated, but they say, or and they say, or just they say. And notice it's a contrast with they. Any comments there? Also, we have some, this is a structure we run into, some say, and so this is others say. And then remember, this is a separate group. It always refers to the last person mentioned rather than to the subject. So we have some others say. Some say this, others say this. Any question? That's kind of one of those things you got to kind of make a note of it because you'll run into it a few times in the New Testament and kind of be aware of that. That's one that kind of throw you off if you can't remember where to find it. So it might be something you want to put over with the word hoide if you find hoide. I think maybe hoide may be in my, I may have this in my lexicon and grammar notes that I sent to you. It's possible I have it there, okay? All right, and so here's a contrast. Now then, the pronoun autos, ate, auto, nominative singular masculine, nominative singular feminine, nominative singular neuter. That's just the same pronoun, masculine, feminine, neuter. And it always goes in masculine, feminine, neuter form. That's the standard format. Serves in the New Testament both as an intensive pronoun for all persons and autos lege, he himself says. Now we're going to look at the structure of these and to tell us whether it's intensive or it has another function. And it could be an identical pronoun, say, he himself says. In the oblique cases, and what oblique cases other than the nominative case? Every case except nominative is oblique. So that would be all cases other than the nominative. This pronoun is a third person pronoun. When it's in the nominative case, it functions differently. Got to make a note of that. I think that's in the next, somewhere in here it tells us that. Now this pronoun is found 5,596 or 597 times, depending on which manuscripts you use. So it's I think there's one manuscript where it's not there, but it's in the other manuscripts. All right. So about 5,596 or 97 times. Okay.
Yeah, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, so the what is an identical pronoun? Is that how it's being used, that when it's himself, herself, itself?
It's himself. There's also a reflexive pronoun, which we'll get to later, but it's identical pronoun, he himself. Kind of emphatic. you think of it as intensive, see? So it intensifies it. He himself speaks. So you think of it more as intensive to intensify it. All right, does that make sense? So it's going to intensify it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the difference. Now we have a reflexive pronoun, and we'll get to that later. But this intensifies it. Now autos, and what they've done is the os ending is masculine. You drop that and put an eta there, and that makes it feminine. You drop the os and put an omicron, and you have neuter. Let's go back and look at them. That shows all three forms right here. That's what they're trying to depict right here. They're trying to depict that. Maybe I can get them both on the screen. No, that's pretty close. Let me see if I can get them there. Yeah, these right here would be this. This would be this one, and then put the eta on it right there. You'd have this one, and put the omicron on it. You'd have that one. Okay, so that's masculine, nominative singular masculine, nominative singular feminine, nominative singular neuter. Right? Now again, look how many times it's found. I believe this is fairly important since it's found that many times in the New Testament, over nearly 5,600 times. So what we have is the various forms will be found. All right, you may find any one of these forms. And of course, it could be masculine, feminine, or neuter. And you got to look at them. I want you to look at something here. I want you to see something here. Autos, and then auto. The nominatives are all different. But look here. Genitive, auto, that's abative. We expected those to be the same. But over here with the neuter, it's auto also. So when you see one of these pronouns here, you don't know whether it's masculine or neuter unless it happens to have an article. Or the obvious word that it's referring to in the context is either masculine or neuter. Any questions there? Now the feminine has a different form, okay? All right. So it does have a different form. Notice down here your instrumental, your dative, instrumental, and locative, auto, are the same form as the neuter as well. So again, you're going to have to go to context from it. What's the obvious word that it's referring to? It's antecedent in the context, or if it happens to have the article, that'll settle it. All right. Now, your accusative forms are here, nominative, masculine and singular, and nominative. Accusative masculine, singular, are different form. So the accusative, we don't have a problem there. The accused neuter nominative and neuter accusative are always the same form in all your pronouns. So we're going to have them the same. So when you see one of those, you have to look at context to see whether it's the accusative, the direct object, or whether it is the nominative case. Right? So that's something you got to kind of watch. Those will be the same. All right. Now your plural, autoi and autai and auta, again, they're all different. But look at your genitive abative. For all three genders, they're the same. Genitive abative plural, auton, are the same all the way across. That can be a little bit of a problem. Could be a problem of interpreting a passage sometimes. So that could come down to, you got to argue from context. It becomes a contextual problem. However, if you, of course, had an article with one of these, and sometimes this word will have an article, then that will tell you what it is. It'll tell you the gender of it, because the article would be different. All right? Now, wait a second. No, it wouldn't. The genitive article would be tone right here. And so you could get the masculine and neuter the same, but your feminine would be different. Okay. All right. Dative plural. Notice that those two, the dative, instrumental, and locative plural, are the same in the masculine. This column is masculine, and also in the neuter. So again, that could be confusing. The feminine are different, right? All right. Now your genitive form is the same all the way across. Your dative, instrumental, locative are the same for nominative, for masculine and neuter, but they're different in the feminine. Let's look at the accusative. In the masculine, the nominative and accusative are different. So our accusative form is different. And all the way across, your accusatives are different in all three genders. Now remember, as I said earlier, the nominative and the neuter and the accusative neuter, both singular and plural, are the same. In this case, the nominative plural neuter is the same as the accusative plural neuter. I want to make sure that I don't lead you astray. The nominative singular neuter and the nominative and the accusative singular neuter are the same. Of course, the plurals are different than the singular. Okay. So I want to make sure I didn't lead you astray on that. Other questions? Now, the endings here are essentially like your article. Look at there. These really are functioning much like adjectives. Okay. All right. All right. Now,
So can I just summarize to make sure I understand? So if it's in the nominative, it's always the identical intensive pronoun?
yes.
It's so that would be itself, himself, herself.
Right here. What we'll get down here to it, and we'll get down to these rules down here. All right. We have the predicate position. It has the article, and if it's used in a special sense when it's in the nominative case, it's intensive. It's himself. So it's intensive when it's in the nominative case. Right.
All the other cases then would be just it, he, she instead.
Yeah, he, himself, or he, she, or okay. The of him, genitive, of them, it'll be plural. Singular will be of him or of her, of it.
Gotcha.
From him, from her, from it, or out of him, out of her, out of it. And of course, if you have prepositions, they would help to clarify its meaning. The preposition doesn't determine the meaning. The meaning determines the preposition. Don't get the cart before the horse, okay? So whatever the meaning was, told the writer what preposition to choose. And that's what the scholars tell us, okay? So not just Marion. All right. The use of autos, it's important to this gets a little touchy a bit, but remember we got nearly 5,600 times the words found. So kind of important to struggle with these a little bit. Autos, ego, duluo. Now right here, this is I, and every time you have ego, it's always emphatic. Duluo, because the duluo, the uo ending already has the word I in it. It's got the first person pronoun built into it on the ending. And so it's I serve, I serve, it's emphatic. And then autos intensifies it even some more. So it's I myself serve. And really, it's real emphatic. And because we got the autos and ego and duluo, all three, even I myself serve. Might be a way we're going to translate that. That's from Romans 7:25. Pretty intensive, okay? Right over here, now we have the nominative. And it doesn't matter whether it's nominative singular or nominative plural, it still is intensive. Autoi, gar, humes, theodactoi, esti. Now I want you to notice something. Pseudodoctoid might have to have two accent marks. This may have an accent mark missing. I'll check it later. I suspect it does, because this is emphatic. It lost its accent mark, and it should have given it up. This accent mark probably come from this word. There might be one over here, either here or here. I'll have to look at that. I think that's a mistake in the book. I think the guy that transcribed this left it out. Okay, let me look. Yeah, I think so. All right. I don't see it there, but I'll look. First Thessalonians 4:9. I'll look at my Greek text.
It's over the iota.
It's under the iota. It's got an iota.
Iota.
Subscript.
No, it's got a acute over the. It's
Acute. Okay.
yeah, delta iota right there.
Right there was an acute.
Right. Right here.
This is a grave going to the left and it goes to the right in acute. There's an acute there. Right there's an acute.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I'll fix it after class. Okay. I was sure it had lost it. That was a mistake. Okay. Because when this lost its accent mark, this may has two accent marks on it. Okay. All right. Autoi gar. Gar is post-positive, so it goes back over here for you, and are taught of God. That's you, and this would probably be you yourselves are taught of God, not just you. Even you, because you got humace there makes it emphatic, and then you got autoi, you yourselves. You yourselves are taught of God. That would be better translation. I would put the words yourselves in there. I don't know how the First Thessalonians 4:9 translates it, but the advanced class has translated First, Second Thessalonians. And so if you want my notes on it, I'll be happy to send them to you. If you want, just let me know and I'll send them to you tonight after class. Okay? First, Second Thessalonians. And you can see how we translated it there. But this word here is an adjective. All right. Notice the ending, it's got an adjectival ending. It's nominative plural adjective. And so you are what? And it's read by most people as taught like a verb. Okay. Now they used to use this expression, he's an educated person. Still use that expression, but he's a taught man. He's a taught person. And I've heard that expression before. It's kind of older expression, kind of dropped out of usage. He's a taught person. And that's how we have it here. Basically, he is taught of God. This is a person that would accept the teaching of God's word. So if you need to study that more fully, and of course it got the word God there, theos, and drop the sigma off, didactoi, and you can see it right there, that word didactos, put a sigma there and you'll have the word. And that's the word. It's a very interesting word to study because we have to be teachable. Some people, you can't teach them anything, all right? You have to be willing to learn. And I like to go to Acts 17:11 to illustrate it. I think you'll find the word there very interesting, okay? These people were teachable. They were willing to be taught. Now, they're not gullible, but they're willing to be taught, all right? And so they're taught who? They're willing to be taught by God. First Thessalonians 4:9. Any question or comment? And you can have my notes on that if you want them. All right.
Real quick, yeah. So I'm just trying to understand on Romans 7:25. What is autos meaning there?
Myself. I myself serve. And
maybe I misunderstood that it always means a third person pronoun. I guess it can refer to first and second person as well in an intensive.
When it's in the nominative case, it'll refer to the first person. The other cases, it'll refer to the third person.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification.
That's the difference. Now it has a special usage when it's in the nominative case. And I've got this. If you go over to my notes that I sent to you and find autos toward the end of it, I have all the pronouns together right at the end. I put them all together. So you go to near the end of the materials and find it, and you get under pronouns. You just do a search pronouns, and there'll be a heading of pronouns that'll list them all in alphabetical order, and it'll tell you this. It's a special usage when it has a nominative case. Yeah. So it's I, myself. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You have to be teachable by God. You have to be willing to listen to God and obey His word and learn from it and say, you know, Marion has been wrong. If God's right, I know. So if I study and I'm determined I've been wrong, I just change. That's what we have to do as God's people.
So the second one, 1 Thessalonians 4:9, would be you yourselves are taught of God. For you yourselves are taught of God.
You yourselves are taught of God.
Okay.
I would put yourselves in there. I think that's probably how I translated it. I'll send you my file and hopefully I'll translate it that way. I should have done it. That's from 1 Thessalonians 4:9. I think there's 5 chapters in 1 Thessalonians, if my memory's right. 3 chapters in 2 Thessalonians, I think. I believe that's correct. All right. That with a verb in the third person pronoun intensifies the subject. It's not merely the subject, but it intensifies it. So right here, and right here may be used as a noun. Here it takes a predicate position. Now, predicate position, it's following the article, right? And a noun usually having the article. It has the article with the noun. So the article is with the noun right here. So we have the article with the noun. And so right here, aute, and notice the iota subscript. So that's dative instrumental locative form. And of course, it also has a circumflex. I'll go back up here and show you. It doesn't have a circumflex in the nominative form. Does that make sense? See the difference? So you got to look at it carefully. Don't get it'll fool you if you're not careful. You got to look at the accent marks, and of course you have an acute. Still have the smooth breathing over here on the upsilon, but this is an eta with an acute and an eta with a circumflex and the iota subscript. It goes back to some of our rules. Okay, let's go back over here now. In ate te hemera, on the very day or on the day itself. Okay, on the very day. All right, so that intensifies. The word very makes it intensive. So it's used as an intensive pronoun. Right? Autos, ho, theos, Irenes, and this is the God subject, himself of peace. The God of peace himself, or you could say himself, the God of peace. But that wouldn't be good English. That's how it reads in Greek, though. The God himself of peace. That would be okay. God himself of peace. But the word the article with theos, usually is referring to the true God. I went through and I can't remember any time that the article is present where it refers to a false God in the New Testament. But the article is always the true God, the only true God, okay, deity. That would be, I would think, a reference to the Godhead. Theos is not a proper name for God. Right? If it can be pluralized, it's not a proper name. That's what the scholars tell us. My name, Marion, can be pluralized because it's a proper name. So here we may try to pluralize it, but even in English, we normally don't pluralize a proper name. Theos is just a designation of a set of characteristics. And so there's a set of characteristics that God has. And those characteristics are called theos. and that's characteristics of God. So this is one who has all those characteristics, which the Bible describes, and we can look at those. He's all-knowing and all-powerful and so forth, and all good. Okay.
Marion,
Yes.
I looked this up today, 1 Thessalonians 5:23, and he's left out the day right there, autos, day, ho, theos. He's left out the day, like back up here about hoe day.
Okay. Is they in it?
It says altos D, delta epsilon.
Okay. Well,
Ho. I was interested in the verse, and so when I saw it, and when I went back and looked at it, and I said, "Well, it's not. He's left something out. It was day, DE, delta epsilon."
it's left out in the original document. I tell you what I'm going to do. If it's in there, I'm going to insert it in the text there. Okay.
I just looked in the
It's
BGT.
day.
I just looked in the BGT and the BYZ. It's in is in both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stick it in there, but I'm looking at my original copy and it's not there. I'll stick it in because I think for quoting scripture and telling us the scripture, we need to have it right. So I'm going to fix it. Okay. I'm going to change it. I'm going to take the liberty to do it. Okay. All right. And so I know I've put in here that I've made some modifications in the book. Okay. I think that's a legitimate modification. And so, all right. Any question? All right. Okay, we'll put it there later. All right. And 1 Thessalonians 5:23. But day would actually say, but himself, the God of peace, or and himself, the God of peace. All right. Plus, it's post-positive would reach back over here in meaning. The identical pronoun, it's the same. It has the article and it's in the attributed position. So not right here. Now I want you to notice here, this right here doesn't have the article. The article goes with the noun. And it doesn't have the article here. The article goes with the noun. All right, it's intensive. And this is, this right here, it's intensive by virtue of being in the predicate position as well. Right down here, the pronoun has the article and it's in the attributed position. So now watch where it's located. Here, it's before the noun and before the noun here, with no article. And here's your noun, that's tax collectors, and it has the article and it's following the noun. See the location of it? Right here then, it has the article here, all right, ho, autos, kurios, and it's preceding the noun. So it has the article, see, and it's in the position of being an attribute, right? So it's following, and over here it's leading, but it has the article. That's the trick on it. No article here, here, and here, but you got the article here, and you have the article here, and autos. And the gar is between them because it's post-positive. It really goes over here in meaning. Okay. So this article will go with autos. Right? Uki, kai, hoi, telona, to, auto, boiusi. And semicolon means it's question mark, of course. Okay. Do not the publicans do the same? Okay. The same thing. They do the same. So the publicans, the same they do.
Where does the chi come in there?
Even, it's probably do not even, I would translate it even, the publicans do the same thing. Chi probably it means even, and he's left it out. I would translate that as even. You know, not even the publicans do the same thing.
Gotcha.
So Kai would be even. And again, I would fix that. I'm just going to stick that in. Publicans do the same thing. I'll change it and I'll fix it and I'll change the wording of it. I don't know whether he has that there. No, he doesn't, and I would definitely have even there. Okay. All right. All right. Hogar autos curios panton, for the same Lord of all. All right. All right.
Pantone has an acute on it, doesn't it? It doesn't the passages. And it has an it has a acute in Byzantine text.
Pantone has an acute. It's genitive.
It has a
Don't have
it has
for this form, I believe. All right.
the on 12 cure. Yeah. It has the acute on the out.
Well, we'd have to go look at Pantone, but if it's genitive plural, it should be the genitive form always has a circumflex plural.
Yeah, he's right though.
What I'm talking about.
It does say Pantone, not Pantone.
So it's a different word.
Nice
Is
word.
you got the wrong word
Yes,
here?
right there.
Out
No, he's
of,
got the right word. In the Greek, it's over the alpha. It's got an acute mark.
well, I'll look at it. In the original text, I'm looking at the original copy of his book. He's got an omega there. Okay. And I'll see what Romans 10:12 has. And we'll change it to whatever my text of Romans 10 says. Okay.
Yeah.
Be all right for everybody?
Right.
We need to let's just correct the book as we go, and the next group going through it will be have it corrected.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I got where I just looked because I'm not one with these accents. It's hard for me to use them all the time. And when I saw,
So you're going to see it over and over. Now then, let's try this. Autos, gar, sose, tone, laon, atu, apo, tone, amartion, atu,